That is the best thing to do on a day when you have absolutely no responsibilities, you got nothing to do, you got an internet connection. Get yourself on Netflix, on Hulu, wherever, and watch yourself some documentaries. Seriously. Hey there, creepy peeps, and welcome to another Weird Wednesday video. Today, I'm going to be talking about my favorite horror movie related documentaries. Netflix has some great ones on serial killers, which is great if you're into that sort of thing. And they do still have some of the, no, only one of them might still be on Netflix. I'm not sure anymore. I'm just going to talk about some of my favorites. Of course, there are other ones that I've seen that I might talk about, but I just don't own them. This one, of course, is Going to Pieces, which is all about the golden age of the slasher movie. And it's based off of Adam Rockoff's book of the same name, which I'm reading. Well, I did finish a book by him called The Horror of It All. I think I talked about it in another Weird Wednesday video. Really good book. I want to get my hands on Going to Pieces, which I don't yet. But I love slasher movies. Slasher is my favorite. So of course this one, it just kind of goes through the most popular slasher movies of the time and kind of like the rise and fall, like the subtitle is the rise and fall of the slasher film. So it talks about like how they gained popularity and, you know, like it kind of dives into what about slasher movies made them so popular, because once the slasher movie got going, it took off. So it's a really interesting documentary, especially if you like slasher movies. 10 out of 10, do recommend. Next one, some of these kind of have a, they kind of just cover a decade, like this one, American Grindhouse, which I guess you could say is a horror documentary. I feel like the exploitation genre, which is really kind of what this covers, isn't just horror movies. Of course, you can make an exploitation, a sexploitation film, stuff like that. So it does kind of cover those as well, but there are a lot of, you know, like the really like absurdly gory ones, like those kind of exploitation films. This covers that as well. Just really interesting, and you know, it kind of talks about how Grindhouse movies came to be. In short, basically, it's all thanks to the film code that these movies were able to come out because of the wild censorship of certain themes in movies. You know, these movies couldn't get shown in normal commercial theaters, so they had to be shown in like shitty little rundown theaters that would screen them, and that's how we got the Grindhouse subgenre, if you will. So very interesting like that. Next one is the American Nightmare, was what I was going to say. The American Nightmare. And this kind of talks about, this basically includes kind of like the era right before the slasher movies took off. So we're talking about like Halloween, which is kind of like, I feel like the connecting movie between those two times. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Night of the Living Dead. Well, that one's a little bit older, but you know, like it kind of covers right before the slasher movies took off. And again, it just kind of goes through like what made these movies so popular. They have interviews, of course, with the filmmakers and like what inspired them to make these films. You guys can't tell, sorry if it looks like I'm tilting it forward. I'm just making sure you guys can see, because if I hold it like that, you just see a glare and you can see my camera right there and the reflection. This one, very, very good. Okay, this next one I'm pretty positive you can still see on Netflix. I'm almost 100% sure. I don't think this will ever be gone from Netflix. I feel like it's been on there for years. It's Nightmares in Red, White, and Blue, which is basically the documentary version of like a horror history class, I guess. Literally takes you through from the very, very beginning of horror movies all the way at the beginning of, I was gonna say the beginning of the century, not this century. But it takes you like literally like over 100 years almost, it talks about of horror history, and it takes you through like pretty much in chronological order, which is nice. And this really touches on like certain horror movies and how like each decade kind of had a theme and how that related to what was going on in the world at that time, which I talk about incessantly. I find that really interesting in terms of horror, so I love this documentary. I think I've seen it about like 10 times. I'm obsessed with this one. I have the book as well, by the same name. So very, very good. Like I said, I'm almost 100% sure that's still on Netflix, so you can watch that one. It might be on Shudder too, actually. Not positive on that one though. Okay. The last one that I have here in my hand physically is Never Sleep Again, The Elm Street Legacy. I think I mentioned I had this. We got a... It was in Box of Dread. It was in Box of Dread. Because Steve Barton. So I got a signed cover in a Box of Dread because one of the producers, he was a producer, pretty positive he is one of the producers. Steve Barton is head honcho over there at Dread Central. Box of Dread, you know. Excuse me. So this, I remember this came in a Box of Dread. And I got to talk to him a little bit about this movie when I interviewed him one time, which was very cool. But we talked about this movie a little bit because I love this movie, and it is so long. If you watch this movie, make sure you set aside an afternoon or a whole evening for it. It is like 240 minutes long almost. Very, very long. But if you're a fan of the Nightmare on Elm Street films, definitely a watch. It goes in depth on each movie in the franchise. I think even the newest one it talks about. It might, I can't remember. I haven't seen this movie in full in a long time. I'll watch it in sections sometimes, or go like skip through and watch again about certain movies in the franchise. But like I said, it's a really long movie, so I've only seen it start to finish like in one sitting like 2 or 3 times. It's really long, but very, very, very good if you can access this summer. I don't think it's streaming anywhere that I know of, but if you can get your hands on it and you're interested in it, 12 out of 10 do recommend. Okay, so that's basically my horror documentary collection. There are other ones I've seen too, which are really, really good. I think it's still on Netflix. Doc of the Dead, like Documentary of the Dead, is still on Netflix, I think, which kind of, it's another kind of like, it goes through like a history of horror, but in terms of zombie movies, which is really cool if you really like zombie movies. It's all about zombie culture and all that, you know, how zombies are so popular nowadays. So that's basically what that one covers. Another one, I think it came out last year, right around Halloween, is called Why Horror. I'm pretty sure it was on Showtime or HBO. One of those like specials, you know what I mean? Which is really good, and it goes through, it focuses on the filmmaker, and you know, basically just asks the question the whole time, why horror? Like, why are we obsessed with horror? So that one's really good as well. I don't own those two. I should. But yeah, let me know what your favorite horror documentary is in the comment section down below. Let me know if there's ones that I didn't talk about in this video that you really enjoy, because I always need recommendations. for new documentaries, especially if they're horror related. Want to know about those. Yeah, and until next time, stay tuned. Bye. Alright guys, be sure to follow me on my social media over here if you wish, and also if you wish, you can subscribe to me by clicking right down. Yeah.